So without further ado, I would like to introduce Chy Garrick, who is our guest speaker for this evening. Cheyenne is a delightful and inspiring young woman that I've had the pleasure to speak with previously. She is a model, an actress, and entrepreneur. She's based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And this evening she is going to be speaking to us about her own personal experience of living with borderline personality disorder and some of the really remarkable and insightful personal development things that she has done to help her keep balance and live a life worth living. So welcome, Cheyenne. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Amazing. All right, so I guess I'm just gonna hop right in and tell you guys a little bit more about myself and what I'm currently doing right now. So like I mentioned, I'm a model, I'm an actor, I'm also a speaker. I do speaking engagements for high schools and youth. At the beginning of the year, I also started my own growth coaching program. I wanted to inspire and help other individuals that are, coping with BPD to have the proper skills and tool sets to navigate this, experience, I want to call it. So, a little bit more about myself. I'm also the creator of a mini talk show series that I do online on YouTube. And it serves to basically highlight voices of the other. And the other are people that I define are people that don't fit into societal norms or binary ideals. I do a lot with LGBT youth as well in terms of bringing about awareness and education to those communities. I think that when people don't have the right information and knowledge, sometimes they get they go astray and they go down the wrong route. So everything that I can give to empower an individual to further understand what it is that they're experiencing, any tools, any resources, I'm all for that. That's always been my niche. That's always been what I'm interested in. I also completed my undergraduate degree in psychology. So I was really, really just interested in understanding the mind, understanding people, understanding what motivates them, anything about the human existence, really. So psychology was it for me when I went to university. At first I went in as a chemistry major, and it was extremely difficult for me. And I actually almost dropped out of university altogether. I was struggling a lot, obviously, with BPD. And at the time I hadn't gone to see a psychiatrist or a doctor or anything of that sort. So I didn't actually know I was coping with BPD. So school was extremely challenging for me. I wasn't accelerating at the rate that I thought I would. And I completely wanted to give up, but I didn't. I persevered. I kept going. My mom said, maybe just switch your program and reduce your course load. And that's exactly what I did. So thank God for that. I got my degree, and I'm happy to be able to say, I'm a person that has been struggling with mental health and still was able to persevere and get that paper. Which I did not use at all. I decided to go the route of entertainer, actor, voiceover talent, and growth coach. So I guess in a way I am using psychology, even though it's not in the traditional sense of being in an office setting. I knew right away upon graduating that the office life was not suitable for me. And again, everybody's different. So I never want to knock the office situation or, the 9-to-5 lifestyle. But for me, it was something that I knew I definitely couldn't subscribe to or be a part of. I always found myself feeling extremely trapped in those types of situations. After about 2 months, I would get really antsy and be like, I'm tired of looking at the same, 4 walls that I live in. I'm tired of showing up and doing the same repetitive routines and tasks. I realized that routine was a hard thing for me. Relationships were extremely difficult thing for me. And that was an environment that's a huge part of that. So for me, my journey all began when I was extremely young. So when I was extremely young, I was actually born with a cleft palate. I had to undergo reconstructive palate surgery when I was about 2 years old. As a result of that, my bottom jaw actually overgrew and was longer than it was supposed to be. And my top jaw, the growth of it was stunted because of the reconstruction of the muscles that they had to do in the top of my mouth. So as a kid, I got teased a lot. I had a really bad underbite. So when I was sideways, my jaw stuck out pretty far. All of what I look like now is a result of reconstructive surgery at 2 years old, another extraction at about 15, and then follow-up top and bottom jaw surgery when I was 18. So the smile that I have now has had some work. It didn't exactly come natural. But as a child, like I mentioned, this came with a lot of, bullying, name calling, people just saying like you're ugly, or, go tuck in your chin. Like, people said really cruel things to me as a kid, and it really affected my self-esteem and my view of myself and my self-worth. On top of that, my family household wasn't the best at all. I came from a situation where my parents were constantly arguing. That is pretty much all I can ever remember of my childhood. There was a lot of name calling, there was substance abuse, there was drinking, there was a lot of just toxic traits and things that were happening at home that I didn't always feel like I had my family to go to and to turn to and to tell them about what I was experiencing. It felt like they already had way too much on their plate, and I felt like I shouldn't, bring my unnecessary drama to them. So at times, some of what I experienced and coped with and suffered through could have been easily resolved if I felt that I had someone to speak to, or I felt that I could reach out to someone. As I got older, and not older, but about middle school, that was when racial connotations and racial exclusion started to become more prominent in my life. I didn't really see myself as being any different than anyone else, but I was one of very few minority people in a school that was predominantly Caucasian. So, being a person that identifies and looks different, has different hair, has a different skin tone, people would pick on me for that again. Another thing, I had an underbite, and I was just different from everyone else. That really, really, really took a toll on my confidence, and again, on my identity. I, for a very long time, used to straighten my hair. I used to want to have and buy everything and anything that all the other girls did. I wanted to be a clone of them, and I couldn't embrace my individuality. It was really, really hard for me. So in middle school, I actually started cutting, and that was when I was kind of outed by a partner that I was with. And they said, if you don't tell your parents about this, I'm going to tell them. So that was one of the first times that I had a real sit down with my parents at about age 16, 17, and said, like, I'm struggling. Like, there's some things going on that I'm not able to just overcome on my own, and I need help. I was pretty much told that it was all in my head and that I would get over it, and that this was just a natural part of growing up, and that I didn't need to make friends. I needed to focus on my schoolwork. And it was just a lot of invalidating comments, nothing of which really helped me deal with what I was going through at all. No skills, no resources, no tools, just stop thinking about it, get out of your head. And that is probably one of the worst things that anyone can say to you when that is predominantly the issue. Like, you're constantly living in your head. You need someone to understand the constructs of your mind and help you break them down. So moving forward from that, I had my surgery at 18 when I did my reconstructive surgery to realign my top jaw and bottom jaw. And around that time, I was playing soccer at a really competitive level. We trained about 5 days a week. I did showcase tournaments in the States. So I was en route to get a scholarship, and that was the plan. The plan was to get a scholarship, get out of Toronto, get away from my family, get away from my friends, get away from the life that I knew, and start over and reinvent myself. I really, really felt alone. I was really unhappy. I was really lost and confused. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, a lot of self-worth. And unfortunately, as a result of this surgery that I chose to have, I lost about 20 pounds and completely destroyed my soccer career because I went back way too soon. I was getting injured. I pulled my groin. I displaced joints in my lower back. I was not fit to be on the field, essentially. And it was extremely upsetting for me because it was a time where I was realizing, like, this is 13 years of training and dedication and commitment to this sport going down the drain. And I was watching that happen before my eyes. And this is around age 18, around the same time that I became sexually active. So at that time, my mom put me on birth control, and it was called Yaz. And I'm not sure if anyone's heard of it or heard of it in the past, but it was discontinued because the hormone levels were affecting women very negatively. People were having suicidal ideation and all sorts of things that, you know, is kind of typical already of somebody coping with BPD. So you can just imagine it was set right into high drive. So I was feeling at that time extremely hopeless, extremely suicidal. And I really, for the most part, didn't want to live anymore. It felt like 13 years of everything that I had worked for was done. It was gone. And I just, you know, it's still emotional for me to even talk about because it was 10 years ago, but it's still, I can remember it like it was yesterday at times. So with that being said, I didn't go away on scholarship. I ended up joining University of York. I went to school at York. I really wanted to go to the States. That didn't happen. So it felt like all of my dreams were crushed. I went to the University of York, and there I began to do bottle service. So I got involved in the nightclub industry and the whole entertainment scene. And that is when life really took another 180. So as you know, the club is notorious for alcohol, loud music, drugs, just a lot of toxicity of environment. And at that time, it kind of comes with the job at times. People are constantly shoving shots in your face. Hey, you want a shot? Hey, come take a shot. Come have a shot with us. And when you're the girl that's saying, no, it's okay, you're constantly hearing like, oh, why, you don't drink? Oh, what's wrong with you? How come you don't drink? Or even just, you get like this distancing in a way where they just seem like, oh, we can't have fun with you because you're not drinking and we're drinking. So it was this whole environment that I was already in a space where I needed to essentially cultivate love, and acceptance and a lot of things that I was missing, self-worth, self-esteem, and the club was not the place to find that. So unfortunately, for another 4 years, I was in school while working at the club at the same time, trying to pay my way through university because I didn't get that scholarship I was hoping for. And I became extremely depressed. I finished my degree, and after that, it was like I completely lost myself. I didn't want to go into school, like I said, or into psychology, like I said. I didn't want an office job. I really had no direction, didn't know what I was doing, and I met somebody online. So at that time, I was swept off my feet and decided to go to Texas because that was the plan originally anyways. I wanted to get out of the city, get away from my friends, get away from my family, and start a whole new life. So I started this whole new life in Texas. All of about 5 months later, I realized that it didn't matter where I went in the world, my problems were going to follow me. So I really thought that, going away to Texas, being in another country, meeting all these different people was just going to, change my life and evaporate my problems. And what I realized and what I found out was that I felt completely the same. And what was even worse was now I was surrounded by beaches and water and palm trees and sunsets, and I was still depressed. So I talked to my partner and I told them, listen, I need to go back home. I need to be around my support systems. I need to be around friends and family. Even if they aren't that great, it's something. And so we came back to Toronto, and I continued working in the bar for about 2 more years before I finally committed to therapy for the first time. So in 2018, which is not so long ago, I went into therapy for the first time. And I took DBT, which was dialectical behavioral therapy, which is a skills-based program, and it was a group program. I was very adamant about not wanting to be a part of a group, and I completely understand that for people that really don't want to take that jump right away. It feels like you don't want to be judged by other people. You don't want to, sit around and have other people have kind of like ammunition against you. It's like these people can leave and go talk about, oh, I met this girl, and it's so easy to find people on social media. So it's kind of like, as much as it's anonymous and as much as you're there and you're told to keep everything private, it's still very hard to trust people and trust that this is like going to be beneficial more than it would be harmful. So I'm really, really happy that I took that course. And I encourage anyone, to go into therapy, because it's not a matter of like you have a problem and therefore you need this. I genuinely believe every single person should take therapy. If you've been through any sort of trauma or pain in your past, which I can't imagine any human not experiencing, because that's part of being human, that is part of the human experience, is pain. you can go to therapy. You can help unpackage that. You can help do the work. You know, therapy really helps you do the work that you need to do on unraveling the experiences that you've been through that leave you in a space where you might be sometimes anxious, or you might be depressed, or you might be seeing things. There's, you know, the way in which all of our pain and trauma manifests can be labeled and called something different. But at the end of the day, we've all been through something. We've all been through some type of experience that is leading us to feel and act and behave the way that we are currently. Because when you are, you know, a baby born out of the womb, you have no judgment, you have no resentment, you have no anger, you're not bitter and cold and hurt. Like, this is something that goes on in life. This is something that happens throughout your lifetime that makes you this way. So there's a way to unpack that and to unravel that and to work through that. So for myself, not only did I go to therapy, I started looking to other non-traditional elements of healing. I was like, okay, we live here in North America in a world that we hear is very fast-paced, very, you know, technologically advanced, very stressful, to be quite honest. What other ways of living and existing are there out there that may not be what I'm aware of and what's in my face all day and what's in my horizons? So I started looking into more of like Western versus Eastern, meditation, breathwork, holistic healing, aromatherapy, anything that I could essentially do to fix the problem. I started looking at myself like a university degree, something that I wanted to conquer, something that I wanted to fix, something that I wanted to solve, something that I wanted to, you know, dive into. So when I started looking at different traditions and different ways of looking at, I'm trying to avoid the word in every sense, mental illness. I do not like that word because I don't believe that it's an illness. Like I said, I believe it's trauma. I believe it's pain. And I believe it's things that blocked energy in the body that needs to be released and that needs to be worked through, whether it's through speech, whether it's through nutrition and working out, whether it's through reflection, music, creation. There's a lot of different ways, which I want to get into because for me, I think that's the most important, but I don't like that word. So that's one thing that anyone that's supporting anyone that is going through unpacking trauma and healing, don't call it a mental illness. It's not an illness. So what I really want to get into now is some of the habits and routines that really keep me afloat. When you have BPD, every little thing all day long triggers you. Every little experience that brings back, it's almost like PTSD with an emotional reaction with it. So you remember things that have happened in the past, or it sounds familiar, like something that's been said before, and it sets you off. Or it's just a familiar feeling or a familiar sound or a familiar smell. Like, it can be anything and it sets you off. It brings you back to a time and a place where you experience some form of trauma or pain that you are unable to rid yourself of because you have not worked through it. So one of the first things that really, really expanded my mind and helped me understand what was going to help me the most was reading. When you read books, knowledge is power. When you read, you get all of the answers and the clues to what it is that you need to do to get through what it is that you're experiencing now. They say that success leaves clues, and it's very true. We aren't the first people to experience pain and trauma, and we aren't the last. So the clues and the tools and the resources are all out there. You just have to look for them, and you have to be committed to your healing more than anything else. The same way you commit to a religion, the same way you commit to a job, the same way you commit to a relationship, you need to commit to yourself and your healing journey. So I'm just going to pull up a slide here that I have. This is one of the most important, I think, in my 12-week program that I actually deliver to people to help them work through their trauma and then work through building habits and skills. This was one of the most important weeks that I came across that I felt that I wanted to share with you. And that is kind of the lifestyle of consistently working on yourself. What does that look like? What are some of the things that I do? What are some of the practices? So a question I want to ask you all, and I want you to think about for a moment, is what does your morning routine currently look like? So they say that the first 20 minutes of your day is what we call the alpha stage. and it's the gateway to the subconscious mind. So whatever you hear, see, or exposed to in the first 20 minutes is going to affect you and set the tone for the rest of your day. So when I ask you, what does your morning routine look like? What are you setting yourself up to think about and to feel like for the rest of the day? Do you have a morning routine? Is it something that you've even thought about? Is it something that you know that you engage with or not? If you don't, I definitely suggest starting with one. And it doesn't have to be something crazy and extensive. It can be something small and work your way up. So these are some ideas that I have for a morning routine, as well as we're going to go over some of the benefits of why these are so important to do in the morning. So as mentioned, reading. Reading, not only does it obviously teach you a lot of things that you probably didn't already know, it also has been proven to enhance social skills. It's helped with stress reduction. It helps better your sleep. It helps with mental stimulation. So it's actually helped people who have Alzheimer's and dementia. It reduces or prevents it slows the progress down and reduces the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. And then of course, vocabulary expansion. And who doesn't want to, sound really smart when they're talking? Another thing that I've incorporated into my morning routine is breath work. So if you're not familiar with breath work is used to circulate stuck and repressed energy in the system, which causes both physical and emotional responses to arise. So it's also important that when you're doing breath work, sometimes you'll have different reactions. Your body might start to tense up. Your hands sometimes get what they call T-Rex claws, and your hands can tense up. These are all very, very normal. It's just the trauma and the pain releasing from your body. So if it ever comes up when you're practicing breath work, don't be fearful of that. But it just goes to show that breath work can do some amazing things for the body. There's two different types of breath work. There's integrative as well as meditative. So integrative breath work, the purpose is to improve your emotionality and shift your energetic state in the moment. So when you notice that you're getting triggered into a state of panic, anxiety, anger, or guilt, you can use that breath to create space from the moment and then react from a place of logic instead of habit. So we know that BPD a lot of times is a lot of habitual responses and routines. It's things that we've used to cope for years and years and years. It's things that we have used to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe in a place of danger or a perceived threat. So it is not wrong that you react the way you do, but at the end of the day, it is within your control and within your power to learn how to change this reaction. The meditative breath work, the purpose of it is for a deeper transformative healing. It's intentionally lying in stillness with intention on the breath in order to unlatch the thoughts of the mind and connect deeper to the body. So you want to kind of distinguish that your body and your mind are two separate entities, and that your mind heavily influences the body. So if you can calm the body, you can also calm the mind and calm the thoughts. So this process can take us to an altered state of consciousness underneath all of the conditioning that we're usually used to and subconscious programming. So some of the benefits of breath work is immediate stress reduction, anxiety relief. You can connect with your emotions and change your responses to them. It also revitalizes your organs. It's good for toning abdominal muscles. It improves digestion, metabolism, and circulation. Gives you access to your higher power or higher consciousness or adult, mind, whatever you want to label that as. Reduces toxins in the body and provides an energetic release. Gives you more energy and mental clarity. It also deepens your relationship with your body. And the best, it releases trauma that's been stuck in your system for years. So as you can see, there are many, many, many benefits of breath work, and that is why it is part of my morning routine. And breath work doesn't need to be practiced for hours or even half an hour. You can do breath work for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you're going to feel a lot of the difference after doing this over time. Remember, everything is about consistency. So there's 6 different integrative breath patterns that I have here. I was going to maybe go through one of them with you guys, but I think that it might be a little bit awkward if I just sit here and breathe into the camera. So we're going to skip this for right now. And then there's 2 different meditative breath patterns as well. Now, meditation. Meditation is different from breath work in the sense that meditation is to be still in the body, whereas breath work, you're actually trying out different patterns of breathing. So some of the reasons why meditation is good as well is it's good for pain control, again, helps with anxiety, amazing for improving the quality of your sleep. If you want to increase your capacity to learn, you can meditate. It also achieves a greater sense of self-awareness. It's free. You could do it anywhere. That's a bonus. It helps you stay calm. It helps you inspire positive emotion. Meditation is good for so many things. And scientifically, it's also proven to actually increase certain parts of the brain's matter. So the area of the brain in the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, it actually increases like matter in that part of the brain, allowing you to better process your emotions and have more of a shorter response time. So you're not just like responding right away, you're taking a break and thinking about what you're doing before you react. So another thing that is key when it comes to morning routines is affirmations. You are whatever you think you are. When you have BPD, negative self-talk is your best friend. We spend so much time in our head analyzing, did I say that right? Did this person looking at me funny? Oh my God, I don't think they like me. It could have been my tone. Maybe it's what I'm wearing. You're constantly just racking your brain with a bunch of thoughts that really have no place there and are really doing you more detriment than they are good. If you can learn to control that negative thought pattern and start, including more positive thought patterns in your brain by, intentionally saying affirmations out loud, intentionally expressing gratitude, you will see such a change in your emotionality day to day and your mood. So that means we have to be very, very careful with our words and choose to speak only that which we want to benefit us and cultivate our highest good. So a book that I once found when I was going through affirmations was The 4 Agreements by John Miguel Ruiz. I really, really love these 4 agreements because they are things that I have really tried to implement in just like who I am as a person, because it alleviates so much stress and so much of that anxiety that we keep in our mind while we think about certain things that are completely out of our control. So number 1, be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personally. Number 3, don't make assumptions. And number 4, always do your best. Why is it important to be impeccable with your word? Like I said, words are more powerful than we realize. They're the building blocks of labels, concepts, and beliefs. And to avoid creating new harmful illusions, we must be extremely conservative when using them on ourselves or on others. You want to get in the habit of saying only what you mean and mean only what you say. And when you don't know what to say, listen to the golden rule. Say nothing at all. If you have nothing nice to say, keep it to yourself. Being impeccable with our word not only allows us to have that confidence in ourselves, but it also allows others to have confidence in us. When you speak out of terms and you say things out of anger and you say things that you don't really mean, this can be really harmful, not only for you, but for everyone around you too. It's everyone else's responsibility to, be careful with what they're saying, but it's also your responsibility to be careful of how you treat those around you. Don't take anything personally. You have to remember that everyone essentially lives in their own world. Everyone is stressed. Everyone is busy. Everyone has a list of 1,000,000 things to do. So remember that. Remember that the words and actions of others are really products of their own reality. And acknowledge that if you share the same reality, you know no better than to act and speak in the exact same way. So take nothing personally, and it will diffuse the power of words and actions of others to impact you. If you hold on to every word of every single person that comes at you, it's going to destroy you. And you have to understand that sometimes people really don't know you. Sometimes people don't really understand. So don't take what they're saying as to heart and as though it's like the only rule of, anything about yourself. Number 3, don't make assumptions. Though we know that most assumptions are baseless, we often still give them weight of a full agreement. What is the result of this? One-sided expectations is a major source of misunderstanding and suffering at all levels of life. Be aware and wary of your natural tendency to assume things about yourself, others, and the world around you. Instead, look and listen without labels or judgment. It is extremely hard to be a good listener And the world is very, very short of a lot of good listeners, to be quite honest, or at least in my experience. People often want to project their knowledge, their experience, their understanding of a situation onto you without necessarily understanding what it is that you need in the situation. Other people's labels and judgment can sometimes have a very detrimental effect on us because we're reading into it too much. So when you're listening to someone, when you're listening to your loved one with BPD, try to listen without label or judgment. But someone, again, with BPD, again, try to practice listening without label or judgment. And you'll find and notice yourself so often passing judgment or labeling things in your mind. And just instead of scrutinizing yourself or punishing yourself for this, just take a step back and just allow it to pass. Allow yourself to recognize that you're doing this and give yourself the space and the freedom to say, this just happened and it's going to pass. And this is not, this doesn't define me and who I am. Have the courage to ask questions and clarify. There's no such thing as stupid questions. And if somebody wants to judge you for asking a question, it says more about them than it does of yourself. Asking questions and getting clarity on something is respect for that other individual and their feelings and their emotions. That is being empathic. That is being vulnerable and open. That is not something that anyone will ever, look at as a negative quality in you. And if they do, like I said, they need to go look in the mirror for the most part of it. And remember that when someone or something surprises you, the feeling isn't theirs, it's yours. So you can't expect people to act in accordance with what you want all the time. Life happens and people are prone to error. People are going to make mistakes. Last but not least, always do your best. Live with the mask. You want to live life in every moment like it's the last moment to live that way. Live as freely as possible. Don't worry about other people's judgments all the time. Try to do better than you did yesterday or even 5 minutes ago. Accept that your best is going to change from moment to moment, depending on the conditions within you and around you. Sometimes our work situation changes, and that changes how we feel about things. Sometimes our relationships change, and that changes how we feel about things. One thing that you can guarantee in life is that change is constant, and change is always going to happen. So get used to change. Become familiar with change. Allow change to be your friend. And do what you can with what you have from where you are. That's all that you can ask of yourself. Nothing more, nothing less. Visualization. This is another key part of my morning routine. It's not enough to just say that you want something in life. You have to also create a plan to obtain the objective that you want and believe that it's yours. How can we do this? Put up imagery. Imagery is huge for me. I keep a bulletin board with a bunch of Post-it notes all over it of goals and things that I want to accomplish. I also keep memos on my phone in terms of affirmations, mantras, positive wording. I also keep a vision board, which is completely just, like a craft DIY, magazine clippings, anything that symbolizes a future that I want to have. Putting up visuals and having visual representation of your goals and the things that you want to accomplish will help you achieve them. You will look back at them and you will see, oh, wow, I wrote this down 6 months ago and now I've actually obtained that goal. So when you're visualizing, you have to genuinely believe. You can't just sit there and look at the wall and be like, oh, one day, maybe, I hope. No, you got to be like, this is mine. I feel it. I smell it. I taste it. It's mine. You have to believe that whatever your goals are, whatever you want, you have to want them more than anybody else. No one is going to want your future, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations more than you. And the only way to get there is to constantly keep those things in sight. There is so much negative imagery. There's so much distraction. There's so many things to pull us away from the things that are most important. So it's so valuable and so important to keep yourself on track by putting them up in front of your face. Write things on your mirror, write things on your wall. Do what you have to do to have visuals around you all the time. And gratitude. Why express gratitude? It sounds kind of funny sometimes, right? Just saying like positive things out to the air. I'm thankful for the trees. I'm thankful for the air. I am thankful for the sun. But it is actually scientifically proven again that expressing gratitude increases your happiness and positive mood. It allows you to have more satisfaction with life. You're less materialistic. You're less likely to experience burnout. You have better physical health, better sleep, less fatigue, lower levels of cellular inflammation, greater resiliency. It encourages the development of patience, humility, and wisdom. So gratitude and expressing gratitude is an extremely beneficial practice. There's even been studies where people expressed affirmations and gratitude over a plant. One plant was kept in isolation. The other one was people were praying, people were saying good things, and one of the plants died and the other one flourished and grew. So on a molecular level, it's actually proven that the power of positive word actually affects the body intrinsically, because you start to release, those endorphins in the brain that make you feel good. And then those endorphins are intrinsically helping every other function in the body so that you're actually operating the way you should be in a very healthy way. So what is one thing that you are grateful for? Drop it in the chat. I'm going to read some of them out loud real quick. What are you guys grateful for? Family, job, health, my breath every day. Love it. So we got to express gratitude. That is extremely important. Another thing I want to speak on is exercise and nutrition. So I know everyone doesn't like going to the gym and, lifting up weight, getting the reps on. It doesn't have to be done that way. But exercise and nutrition are yet another great beneficial way to keep yourself balanced, keep your mood in control. I find for myself, I need to work out at least, I want to say on the lower end, 2 to 3 days. Sometimes I'll do 4 or 5. But I really, really, really am all for when it comes to working out and eating well, because I've seen drastic, significant improvement in my energy, in my sleep, all that type of thing. Again, exercise helps with serotonin levels. It helps with the creation of dopamine. It helps with weight loss, therefore helping you with your image. Exercise and nutrition, they're so beneficial. So keep a great diet if you know that you already are dealing with blockages in the body. We want to do things that are going to help us operate and function at the best possible level that we can. And finally, one of the most important things as well is having support systems. So I found for myself that my gym community was one of the first communities that I got started up with when I got out of therapy. They really helped me stay accountable when it came to working out. I wanted to make sure that I was like, okay, I'm not the most positive person. I tend to be pessimistic. So I'm going to read, I'm going to, write down my goals. I'm going to do affirmations and gratitude, but I still wanted, something that was more than that I could physically do for my body. So nutrition and fitness were one of the first things that I started building a routine and a habit out of. And just so you know, it takes about 21 days to build a habit. So after now it's been consistent for about 3 years, it gets easier and easier with time. Having communities and groups of people to hold you accountable in whatever types of things. If you need meditation groups to help you with meditating, if you need to join a reading group so that you can keep up with your reading, even vision boards. Like I've gone to vision board parties and things like that, and we've sat there and made vision boards together. There's so many different communities and groups out there. You just have to look and find your tribe. Find the people that you relate to, the people that you feel most connected to. And those are going to be the people that help you get through when you're feeling down, when you're feeling like low energy, low mood. Plus, there's a lot of people online right now that are into, growth coaching, life coaching, habit building, things of that nature. It's a super millennial, trendy topic. So there's a lot of people out there that aren't necessarily traditional therapists, but that definitely have the tools and the resources to help you feel a lot better and help you navigate through having BPD and your day-to-day routines and your life in general. Support and community is so key in dealing with this battle. Don't deal with this battle on your own. There's so many people out there that want to help you. There's so many people that have gone through it and just, you know, they want to be that face for you, or that shoulder to cry on, that ear to listen. So seek for people, seek for community, and seek for help. And yeah, I feel like that's pretty much a lot of what I wanted to go through. Oh, my last point, trust the process. Trust the process. This is a lifelong journey. Committing to a process of self-betterment and working on yourself and being the best version of yourself is not just a BPD thing. This is an everybody thing. Everybody has to work on being a better person. Everybody has to work on their nutrition, their fitness, you know, learning if it is that you want to take on a new career or you want to take on, you know, a new hobby. You've got to learn. You got to start from zero and build your way up. So just trust that anything that's worthwhile and that you want to build a skill in takes time, and it takes consistency over time in order to accomplish that goal. And learn to love it. Learn to love that journey, because if you just resent every moment of it, you're never going to find that peace and happiness throughout it. Because like I said, this is a lifelong battle. Not in a sense that you're going to always feel bad and always feel down and always feel gloom, but it's a lifelong battle for every human that lives to deal and cope with pain, cope with unfortunate events, just cope with even the world at large and how it is right now, the stress, the anxiety of everyday living. So having BPD, yeah, makes it a little bit more challenging than everyone else, but there are ways, there are tools, there are resources, there is help. You just have to look for it, and you have to want it. You have to want it just as bad as you want anything else. Now, I think we're opening up the last however many minutes, 20 minutes or so, for questions. Mike or Kathleen, I'm not sure who.
Yeah. Thank you, Cheyenne. That was great. Lots of things going on in the chat and the question and answers that they have for you. One that's very dominant is they want to see the breathing slides again, or if they could, if you could provide us with copies of those, that we could send them out at a later date or post them on a website, our website, because a lot of people are asking, can you go back to this slide and show us? Or maybe if you just want to recap the slides about the breathing, the different types of breathing.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, it would be probably really good. These are, it was somebody else that does breath work that I really enjoy her work. So I extracted the videos from her website. These are just public resources that anyone, if you go on YouTube and you Google breath work, there's a lot of different people out there that provide, you know, 10-minute, 15-minute breathwork sessions. You just go along with them. They can be guided. You can follow along. Same thing with meditations. They have guided meditations on YouTube. The internet is your friend. Just Google anything that you need to know about really whatever it is that you want to know. So I can pull it back up just to show you guys a clip of one of the breathwork segments that I wanted to showcase. But it's just free information that's out there. So I'll pull that up right now, though, and we can just go through it 30 seconds just to show one technique real quick.
Thank you.
So this is called the bliss breath, and she's going to explain in detail how you do the bliss breath. And then I'll go to the slide with the other breath patterns on it as well.
Hello. In this video, I'm going over the bliss breath. The bliss breath is a forceful exhale through the nose and a relaxed inhale through the nose. So we are only using the nose in this energizer breath, and it sounds like this. You want to make sure you're snapping your belly in as you're doing the forceful exhale for the bliss breath.
So these are the two slides. The bliss breath was the one we just watched. There's also the blow breath, the power breath, snake breath, sigh breath, and continual conscious breath. These were all the integrative breath patterns. And then these were the meditative breath patterns, halo active breath and the tri-active breath. So Kathleen, do you think I should just leave this here for a few seconds?
Yeah, if you don't mind, because we can still see you as the main speaker, and that's important too, just so that they can copy down whatever that they're looking for. So that's very helpful. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, amazing.
Okay, so one of the questions that they have, do you have recommendations on how to convince someone with BPD to go to therapy? or to seek treatments?
That really has to be, I think the best thing is to always positively support anyone that is experiencing BPD. You can't force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. It's like the whole, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink, right? So I would never say force them. In fact, when you force people to do things, more often than not, they're more reluctant to not do them. So the best thing is to continuously support them and allow them to understand how their actions and their behavior are, causing you pain and causing you essentially like discomfort in your life, and just make it more suggestive. Not so much like, you have to do this, you need to do this, why can't you go? Like, just like, more of like a suggestive thing. Like, it's really, difficult at times to support you in the way that I, feel that you need to be supported, or you're not able to communicate to me what it is that you need. Maybe, this would be helpful, or, I think it's more about making it more suggestive and not so demanding.
Okay. Thank you for that. So some of the questions are a little bit personal. For example, how did you feel when you were diagnosed with BPD? And do you feel like you've recovered? If so, by how much? Or do you still kind of regress a little bit on certain days?
Yeah, for myself, when I found out, I think it was very like a little bit of two things. First, I thought I knew it because I studied psychology, like I said. So I have an undergraduate in, I have my undergraduate in psychology, and upon studying abnormal psychology, I got to read through all the different type of mental health diagnoses, or, different categories of illnesses. So with that being said, I just seen the signs really, really soon. And I was like, it felt like I was reading a page out of my life in terms of everything that I was experiencing to a T. So it was really clear to me at that time that that was probably what it was. But at the same time, I was like, okay, now I've got the understanding of what I'm dealing with. I'm now about to study, therapy and counseling and all of the tools that I need to fix myself. So for me, it was like, I don't need nobody's help. I don't need to ask anybody. I'm going to do this on my own. At least that's what I thought. So even though you may understand and get a diagnosis, that doesn't mean that you can do it by yourself. Like, you need support, you need community, you need other people to help you get through these moments. Everyone needs other people in their lives, to talk to have support, to have love, to have connection. We weren't meant to be in this world by ourselves and alone. So when you do that, you feel it emotionally. And what was the second part of that question?
The second part, do you feel that you have recovered?
Oh, yes. Definitely, like I said, it's a lifelong process. To me, it's like when somebody has a flu and then they recover, like, it's gone, that's different. There's no, like, it's gone. And I'm never going to not think about my pain. I'm never going to not think about the trauma. Like, these things happened and they're very much in my mind and in my memory. But at the same time, how they affect me and how I behave and how I interact with the world around me has changed drastically. And when I'm in those spaces where I'm having some of those same negative thought patterns, I'm still way slower to react than how I used to ever engage with anything. So my go-to now is when I feel a flustering rush of emotion, first thing that my go-to is breath work and meditation. Either I'm going to do some cuckoo crazy breathing in the middle of the side of the street, don't even care if anyone's watching me, and be like, or I'm going to go and just sit in total silence, close my eyes, and just like, it really just depends on the extent of the trigger, what I'm feeling. Sometimes I need to breathe. Other times I need just silence and to be alone and more to process the thoughts and think about what I'm going to say next.
Okay. Now, you said that you did a lot of, because you were studying psychology, that you kind of knew what you had to do. How did you get to the process of finding a DBT therapist to assist? Or did you go that route at all?
So I did originally go to my local hospital, and they they had like they had very limited resources. It was like, you can see a psychiatrist up to X amount of sessions, which really wasn't super useful other than to decide like what the diagnosis was and if I wanted to take meds or not. I was very anti-medication. My mom had raised me very much to be very holistic. There's a T for everything with my mom. So the idea of taking medication for me is very like taboo. So I didn't want to take any medication. I didn't want liver damage or kidney poisoning or whatever that these side effects come with. So I understand that some people may need medication for a certain point until they can essentially reduce their dose and maybe be, like go the holistic route. But again, each person is going to know what's best for themselves. This was just my personal preference. But yeah, I'm not sure if I answered the question on that one.
Yeah. So the process to getting DBT therapy is...
It was just trial and error. I eventually stumbled upon the program and took a whack at it. I really just wanted, like I said, I wanted the help. I was in a space that I was like, I'm willing to try and do anything to feel better and to be better and to beat this, until my approach changed to my healing.
Okay, thank you for that. Mike has a question here. When your thoughts are controlling your behavior, how to successfully challenge and change those behaviors?
Everything I'm gonna bring back to the breath. If your thoughts are racing, the chances are your heart is racing, the chances are your breath is higher. And it's like the only way to become unscattered and you're in your head at that moment. You're completely in the head and out of the body. You need to reconnect with the body. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Slow down. Slow yourself down as much as possible. If that means sitting still, if that means closing eyes, if that means lying on your bed in complete darkness, like in black. Do what you need to do. Sometimes it's a temperature control thing. Sometimes you want to take an ice pack and put that at the back of your neck and cool down your temperature. We actually become hot when we're flustered, when we're angry. Working out. There's so many ways. Listen to music, go for a walk, do something to distract yourself from that moment and bring your heart rate down.
Okay. I'm just reading through some of the questions that are here. There are many still.
And remember, the moments will pass. The moment will always pass.
Okay, so you've covered daily routine and the importance of it. So that's good. Actually, yeah. I think I'm just going to pass this to Mike to see if he has any other questions that are top of his list.
Okay.
Mike, if you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just saw one that I thought would be really nice if you could, it would be good to hear from you and say, what would you say to validate and encourage your younger teenage self? Like when you're really starting to struggle, for example, at 18, like when you're like basically nothing had gone right in your life and everything. What would you, if you were now, you could talk to that girl then, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. I write down like a letter to myself that I often read. So it's definitely something along the lines of like, you are beautiful, you are strong, you are independent, like you're going to make it, you're going to be okay. It's just a lot of affirmation and a lot of the things I probably needed to hear as a kid that nobody was telling me because I thought I was, dumb and ugly and, just like physical appearance, peer pressure, social media, drugs and alcohol, all these types of things really, really affect you in the long run, like negatively if they're not used, in moderation or appropriately. So it would just be to, love myself, cherish the body that I live in, and trust that everything was going to work out and not be so caught up in the external world really and everything that people tell you should be and you should do and I think that a lot of that, the anxieties and the things that we're thinking about are just, it's an constant living in the brain and not enough experiencing life in the here and now in the body.
So basically a lot of self-validation and self-compassion for yourself, right?
Yeah, self-compassion. I like that word. That's definitely it.
Okay, I'm trying to see. There's so many.
There are so many. You're right. Just a suggestion, or we're looking for a suggestion. If you have an elderly parent who is diagnosed with BPD, and as they're aging, they become more hysterical, is there something that you could read to them or show them that might give them that soothing thing if you can't get them to breathe through the exercises that you've presented? Is there another tip that you could provide?
Well, that was the temperature control one. Like I said, distracting. There's a lot of different ways to get someone away from the moment of hysteria. My father's undiagnosed, but I truly believe he must be bipolar or have BPD. I don't know, but he's also an alcoholic. And I find that when he becomes hysterical, I just have a way of literally being empathic and bringing the moment down. It's like really knowing what to say, because I know what I would have wanted to hear in that moment. Free from judgment, free from criticism, like, it's like, listen, like, I understand that this is upsetting, or I understand, or how are you feeling? Can you express to me what it is that you need me to do in this moment? How can I make it better? How can I support you? I think it's like asking the right questions. I know sometimes people can be a bit, snappy and maybe say like, you should just know. And you know what? Say, I'm sorry, I don't know at the moment, or maybe I've forgotten. Can you please remind me? I think it's about consistently always trying to show up in the most compassionate and empathic way that you possibly can. Like, just continue to listen the best that you can, and show that you're there and you're supporting this person.
Okay. And I think just being mindful of the time here, the last one that I see here, my daughter's in their last year of high school and then off to college. Do you have any advice to help with this transition?
I'm trying to think about my high school to university transition. Really, it's like, it's going to be a whole entirely new world of, I want to say, identity, where you're no longer just like, you don't know the whole school around you. In high school, it's like, you can be that jock kid, that geek kid, that, the cheerleader. Like, there's really kind of like social groups, and people have social hierarchy and stuff. So in university, that kind of all becomes stripped away. Like, there's so many people and so many different, there's still groups, but it's like, find special interest groups. That will be really helpful with the transition. Find teams, or not teams necessarily, but yeah, even teams. They have a lot of intramural sports. If you're not already like on scholarship or playing for the school team, there's intramural sports, there's clubs, there's, all sorts of types of like boards and things. So I would say get involved at your school so that you have community at school. Don't go there and be isolated and be alone, because that'll probably be one of the worst things to do. And it'll make the experience feel long and draining and boring, because in high school, you feel more a part of something. Everyone kind of knows everyone. But by the time you get to university, you're like one of 400 kids in the class. Your teacher doesn't know you. Like, people aren't necessarily like super, always like, hi, nice to meet you, my name's Sarah. Like, people don't just walk up and make friends. So it's great to have some type of special interest that brings you together to initiate conversation and start friendships and meet new groups of people.
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you have any more questions that you feel need to be addressed at this time?
Yeah, this is a little bit interesting. How do you know so much at such a young age? It's one of the questions.
Books, lots and lots and lots of books. I read every single day for at least 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour, sometimes an hour, it just depends. And my books range on anything from emotional healing, nutrition, even religious stuff. Like, I've wanted to know more about the basis of Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, just to really understand the world at large and understand different types of healing, different types of, just practices. Like I said, I studied psychology. I'm really into media and art, so I'm constantly keeping up on stuff of that nature. Went to acting school. So I'm a student of life. I tell anyone, be a student of life. Forever you should be a student. Never stop being a student. You might be a teacher in your day job, or you might teach other people, but you're still a student, or you should strive to be.
All right. Well, that concludes this evening. So thank you so much, Cheyenne, for being with us, sharing your experience and your personal touch to everything that you've done and discovered, because it looks like there's a lot of self-discovery with this too in your journey. It's been beneficial, and the chat and the Q&A have just been full of so many positive comments, and actually they probably all want to call you to have coffee. But what it looks like here. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your personal journey with us tonight. And thank you everybody for attending and for your participation and all your great questions and comments.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne. It was very, very moving and impressive. I think it gives a lot of the audience like hope that that resilience is possible, and you can actually do it, and it's not easy, and you can do it. It can be done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The same thing goes for the family members supporting their loved one. It's not easy, and you can also do it. And actually, you echoed so many things that we teach in the Family Connections course, right? Like, it was really just textbook Family Connections, what you were talking about, how to support somebody. Just be there. And the number one thing is listen. And the other thing you said is like, you cannot really force somebody to go to therapy, but you can be supportive. And if you're supportive, the chances are better that they will seek ways to help themselves, and that might include therapy or something else that is helpful to them.
And I think being open about your own vulnerability as well, like expressing that it does make you feel a certain type of way, because you have every right to be upset by your loved one's actions. It's not, at times right the way we can lash out or be triggered, but the important part is not always to act from a place of anger, because when that does happen too, it makes the loop keep going. Now it's like, oh, damn, now this person doesn't like me. They hate me. They're never going to forgive me. And like, at times you, instead of stepping up and being like, I'm sorry for saying that, you just assume all hope is lost. You're like, it's all right. I already said what I said. Now I hate myself. I give up. I'm just going to go in a hole, crawl in a hole, and be upset about it all. So it helps to hear somebody say like, I'm here, I'm supporting you. I understand you're experiencing this right now. I'm not going to take it to heart. And yeah.
Okay.
We keep on saying that. So hard to do, but so useful when you are able to do it. Yeah. Because I think it changes the course of relationships.
100%.
Yeah, it was really amazing to hear. Thank you so much. And then thanks everybody for showing up, and we will have the webinar recorded. So we will try to send you some of the questions, the extra questions, and if there's any ones that you feel like you want to answer, then we can try to post that as well.
Yeah, everyone that's on the call, feel free also to reach out to me on social media. I'm at abidebyshy.com, or sorry, at abidebyshy, abide.by.shy, and then through email if you want, abidebyshy@gmail.com. So in either case, I'm an open book. I'm always willing to talk about anything and support and help anybody that I can, because that's why I do what I do. Just continue to work on the skills so I can share them. Each one teach one,
All right. Well, that's it for tonight. So thank you everybody for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar whenever it should take place. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.